Happy New Year, or at least I hope it will be. It is January 1st of 2022, and I'm kind of nervous for this year, but I'm sure most of you are, because it pretty much feels like we just went from 2019 to 2022. So this year, besides setting a goal to read 52 books this year, which would be one a week, which I am completely fine with, I also have the goal of finally reading Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Apparently this is the Penguin cloth-bound classic edition of it. This was originally, the story, not this particular copy. The story was originally published in 1862. I actually thought it was older than that, but I don't know anything. The reason this is my goal for this year is because I have actually been pretty obsessed with Les Miserables since I was a child. It's all kind of a funny full circle thing, because when I was like 6 or 7 years old, my dad would rent the musical from the library and we would watch it at home. It was like the 10-year anniversary musical with the best Jean Valjean ever, in my opinion. And I loved it, even though I didn't know what some of the songs were saying. Like Lovely Ladies, for example, was definitely inappropriate for a child of my age. But I loved everything. I had a cassette tape of all of the music. I obviously didn't understand what the heck French was or how to pronounce this title, so when I was a kid I actually called it Les Marbles. And the older I've gotten, my love for this really hasn't died at all. The movie version of the musical I do enjoy. I've seen it multiple times. I have even been lucky enough to see the musical in London, which I went to by myself and pretty much sobbed through the entire time. So yeah, I'm sure that was interesting for the people around me. I don't know what it is about this story that just gets to me, but I absolutely love it, and I am finally going to take the time to read through this brick of a book. Like this is a hefty boy. And it's over 1,000 pages. I know that. I also know there are 365 chapters, so there's actually a challenge where you read a chapter a day, and so it takes a whole entire year to complete, and I am going to attempt that challenge. So the first chapter was literally only like 3 pages. It's why there are so many chapters in this book. Most of them are quite short, so there probably will be some days where I read more than one. It'll probably just depend what other books I have going, because obviously I'll have to have multiple books going at once with this. So hopefully I'll finish it earlier than a year. But I mean, if it does take me the full year to finish it, that's also fine, just as long as I do. So this one I actually got at the bookshop Shakespeare and Company here in Paris. I've had this for like 4-ish years, I think. It is the one and only book that I actually have bought from that store, and when you buy something there, they actually ask you if you would like a stamp in the book, which I think is pretty cool. And I think it's really appropriate for what book it is as well. So my plan right now is to kind of make a video maybe once a week or once a month. I'm not sure yet how I want to do that, but kind of have updates of how I'm doing with this and just kind of vlogging what's been going on. And I don't know, I also kind of want to use it as a way to kind of try to film a little bit every day maybe, or once a week or whatever. I don't know. We'll see how that goes throughout the year, but that's where I'm starting at, and I'm really excited to get into this, read it. Also, one thing I found really funny is literally the second paragraph of this book says, although it has no direct bearing on the tale we have to tell. And I'm just like, yeah, that's probably going to happen quite a lot in here. But I think I understand which character this first chapter is talking about. It's talking about a priest, and I assume that it's going to be the one that ends up helping Jean Valjean in like the musical and everything. But I don't know for sure because obviously a lot of things have been cut from this. And the only thing I really know about the book is that apparently it really goes into detail about the Paris sewers. So that's gonna be interesting. But it is a challenge I'm willing to take on. It is one that means a lot to me. And I think I'll have such a sense of accomplishment when I turn that last page that I'm just really, really excited for this reading year. So it's the next day, January 2nd, and I have not read the next chapter of Les Miserables yet because this morning it's the first Sunday of the month and we are going to a museum to see a samurai exhibit. And so we're just getting ready now to head out there, and I'm messing with the cats before we leave because they are cute and funny and she is biting me. It is the next day. I just got out of the shower, obviously, and I really like how my hair looks right after I wash it. Like, this is perfect to me, but then it dries and I hate it because I think I just have too much hair. So when it dries, it's like flat on top, and then this is just like poof. And I think it's from just how heavy my hair is, how much of it there is, and yeah, I don't know, still experimenting. Anyway, I've read the first 4 chapters of This Beast. I read 2 yesterday because one of the chapters was literally just a page and a half. Also yesterday, the exhibit we went to, so I had seen it advertised as like a samurai exhibit, but it was actually called Ultime Combat, which is Ultimate Combat. And it was like the entire history of Eastern combat, like everything from like judo, bushido, like all the different kinds of martial arts, to talking about like shrine guardians and yakuza and the movies that have shown like their history and folklore and stuff. So there was like a lot of stuff about Bruce Lee and things like that. So it was really interesting, and there were a ton of clips from movies, which you probably have seen from the footage that I've probably shown from yesterday, but I'm really glad we got to go there. That was a good time. But the first few chapters of this have just been about this priest turned bishop, and he ends up being called Monseigneur Bienvenu, which Bienvenu means welcome in French. So he's like a really good guy, helps the poor and everything, and I have no idea how he's going to be involved in this story, but I think this is probably the dude that helps Jean Valjean in like the musical and the movies and stuff, and I'm assuming that this guy's like church or whatever is probably the place where Jean Valjean passes at the end. That's just my assumption, so I'm kind of curious to see if that's going to be what ends up happening, because obviously I don't know how closely the musical follows the book, so interested to see how that plays out. But that's literally all we've been talking about, is this dude, and it's literally like talked about how he breaks down his finances, like it's literally like listed in the book, like what he spends money on and stuff. So it's kind of, it's seemingly random. But then in this last chapter I wrote, it was talking about how like seeing someone being killed by the guillotine, like how that affected him. And there was a sentence here that I thought was really interesting. It says, "The guillotine is the ultimate expression of law, and its name is vengeance. It is not neutral, nor does it allow us to remain neutral." So there's some interesting commentary about like the laws of man versus like the laws of God and stuff, since he's like a holy dude and things like that. But I am looking forward to being introduced to some of the other characters, as everyone else has just been like a name drop. It's not a character that actually matters or anything. And I'm glad I know a bit of French and how to like pronounce things, because the names and the towns in this, like it's all French, obviously. So I think normally my brain would just kind of like skip over those words, because some of them, they would be really hard for me to pronounce like verbally, but I'm trying to like fully pronounce them in my head instead of skipping over them. So that's been fun. But yeah, obviously each chapter is only a few pages, so not very far in here. And one thing that I think is cool though is like each day where I do read more than one chapter, like that shaves off a complete day of reading. So I like that. Like the next chapter, chapter 5, is also just a page and a half, so tomorrow I'll probably read 2. And that's kind of what I plan on doing with this, is if it's just a really short chapter, just reading 2 instead of just the 1. But yeah, I want to meet the other characters. Today is Saturday, and it is, I guess, the end of the first week of the year, and also my first week of reading Les Miserables, which is too heavy for me to hold up with one hand. But I'm on chapter 10, page 49, so making progress, and I read more than 7 chapters, so that's good as well. And still nothing has happened. The past 2 chapters have actually been quite boring. It's still just about this bishop. The last chapter was actually his sister writing to one of her family members just about him. So, yeah, it's pretty boring right now, which sucks. But I mean, I figured the beginning was going to be weird like this. But yeah, I hope we meet at least another important character in the next week. But we'll see, I guess. But yeah, I haven't checked in until now because not much has been happening this week. I wasn't feeling good for a few days, and we had D&D. Then I got this chair, which is very, very orange, and had to put together, and that's been about it, really. I also finished my last library book. I had 4 of them, so I'll have to return those next week, and the next thing I'll be reading is Pure Nessie. So that's about it for the first week of trying to read Les Miserables. It is cold and rainy here, as it is probably in this book as well. But yeah, that is all until next week.